after news that Georgia Senator John Ossoff plans to introduce a bill barring lawmakers and their immediate family members from making individual trades.
News of the senator's plans come after reports that 54 members of Congress violated the Stock Act aimed at preventing insider trading and conflicts of interest. Joining us now to discuss is former Massachusetts Congressman Barney Frank. Congressman Frank, thank you for joining us. Your thoughts?
Well, it's a dilemma, but I think the senator is basically right. The dilemma is this. I think, frankly, now I'm not a member, I can say it, I guess, without being accused of self-interest. We underpay members of Congress. If you're someone in your 40s, a man or a woman, and you have 2 or 3 college-age children, and you have the kind of intellectual ability and energy that we hope we would have in Congress, you could make more money than what the members of Congress, House and Senate, are now making. And it's one thing to say, look, I decided for public service, I'm not going to maximize my income, I'll get satisfaction in other ways, but you don't sacrifice your kids. And given college expenses now, that's a problem. And we certainly shouldn't want to have a situation where, again, middle-income people, talented middle-income people who could make a much bigger income outside are deterred from money for Congress. Obviously, You're never going to pay the public sector the same. So what that's the reason for not having a limit, but the overwhelming argument outweighs that.
Because I think you make a decent point, sir, that they're not doing that to get rich, even though a lot of them end up rich somehow.
Just by accident?
Yes, because of connections and other things that happen. But I think the target they have now is on individual stocks, because it doesn't mean you couldn't invest in the stock market through ETFs or mutual funds, and people just would feel like, because here's the problem, people like Nancy Pelosi, I'm sorry, but she bought a number of stock options along the way, call options. She made a lot of money, she and her husband did. We're talking about household names like Alphabet, Microsoft, Salesforce, Roblox, Disney, and that's just some of them. Also Tesla. I mean, there are a lot of them, and people feel like, hey, you know, maybe there's nothing wrong with earning money, but maybe they know something we don't, and that's unfair.
I hope we would talk about people in both parties, because it's not a partisan thing, it's a bipartisan thing.
Yeah.
In fact, Ossoff is doing this, the senator from Georgia, because one of the people the guy he ran against and defeated had been accused of doing that, the Republican, Perdue. But what I would propose is this, I think you're right. We have to find a way for members of the House and Senate to be able to invest and minimize conflicts of interest. And I think the best way, it's twofold. First of all, is to create a blind trust mechanism. And there's always a problem with a blind trust, because how do you know it's not your friend, et cetera? If I was still there, would be proposing a bill now to create an entity that invested for all members of Congress. And secondly, it would be instructed not to do individual stocks, but to do indices. That would be a way, and by the way, for most of us who aren't omniscient about the future, indices would have been the best way to have invested to make money. So given the importance of what you said, the need to prevent people from gaming the system and making people feel guilty, of course, it's only 10% of the members, but that's too many. I would say let's set up an entity that does blind trusts for members of Congress investing in indices.
What about beyond investing in individual stocks? How do you stop lawmakers from using insider information to profit in any way across the board? Is that really something that you can police?
Like they know something's going somewhere and they buy real estate
across the board,
knowing it's going there.
Because when people hear you say that, you know, lawmakers need to be paid more money in order to support their families, people automatically look at these lawmakers that are in, you know, positions of power indefinitely and come out multi-millionaires.
Well, first of all, no one's in power indefinitely without the support of the voters. I think sometimes we denigrate the voters' ability to make choices. And that's my answer to the question of what you do. You insist on total transparency. Any financial transaction that a member of Congress engages in must be made public. and then the voters can be the ultimate deciders. If someone has bought land in connection with an appropriation that's going to increase the value of that land, if that's made public, that would be the remedy. The remedy is to let the voters know that this abuse is going on, and I think that would work.
Okay, so leave it to the voters. I absolutely agree with you. So, but on that note, let's talk about the voters and perhaps how they feel about President Biden right now, because this is just breaking, so we want to get your thoughts on it. President Biden's job approval in the new Quinnipiac poll is 33% among adults and just 25% with independents. Among registered voters, it is 35%. So his poll numbers seem to continue to go down.
Yeah, first of all, I'd say that's relevant for the members of Congress running. It's not good news for Democrats. It's irrelevant for President Biden. If you look at past presidents, they go up or down. I like to quote Shimon Peres, the former prime minister of Israel, who said, a campaign is not a hospital. You don't take the temperature every day. There's no way to tell what's going to happen between now and 2024. And that's the response with regard to President Biden. For example, some of those people who are angry at him and who disapprove of him are people on the left who are disappointed that more hasn't been done, particularly in voting rights, but also on the Build Back Better bill. Well, yes, if you ask them, do you approve of the president, given that he has not been able, not I think through his fault, but hasn't been able to get those things through, choosing between him and a Republican nominee, they'll still be for him. So it's two things. First of all, it's way too early for head-to-head polls to count. But secondly, the question is, who would those people? There's a significant number of people who voted for Biden before and will almost certainly vote for him again, who are currently dissenting.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
We can talk all day, but we can't talk all day. So.
Congressman Frank, I
was a little too aggressive in our last session.
Well,
I thought I was back on the floor of the House. And,
no, it was great.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
And we appreciate the conversation today. Thank you.
Congressman Frank, thank you.